Your file shows no kills, and it takes 2. How did he die? Your contact? Not well.
Get him up! Move! He's not breathing.
Made you feel it, did he?
He didn't mean it. He fell. We had a misunderstanding and...
Well, you needn't worry. The second is... Yes. Considerably.
Well, cover me in salt and pepper and call me calamari.
Calamari to the seafood aisle.
To say that I was going into the Andor series with an open mind would be very generous. I enjoyed Mandalorian Season 1 and 2 and admit that they weren't perfect.
I have spoken.
However, all subsequent entries in the Disney Star Wars soiree have been absolutely terrible.
The Emperor is not as forgiving as I am.
The Book of Boba Fett turned a fan favourite into a fat moron who couldn't do anything for himself, and the Obi-Wan Kenobi series just... no, I'm not talking about it again. And the worst part is I can't even enjoy The Mandalorian in isolation, because the dramatic Season 2 ending was resolved in the Book of Boba Fett before Season 3 even begins.
Okay, little guy.
What the hell is even that?
The whole interconnectivity of Disney Star Wars is shooting the franchise in the foot. And remember, my friends, that all roads still lead to the sequel trilogy. When they announced Andor, I remember taking it with a grain of salt. I mean, I enjoyed Rogue One, but I wasn't keen to see a whole series about Cassian. And not to mention the absolutely disastrous lead up to the series airing. Not only did you have 2 shows with key characters that people liked bombing hard, and all the controversy surrounding it, but you also had people like this.
So Dedra, when we meet her, she's working for the ISB, and she's so proud to be doing that, but she's surrounded by what she considers to be quite inept men, mostly. Well, no, all men, really.
So why does that matter?
Because the show is based on a character who was in one film and he died at the end of it. That premise by itself is not going to pull a new audience. You need to make sure all of your remaining Star Wars fans are on board with this show. And the best way to do that would have been to market it as some gritty spy thriller Star Wars.
I understood that reference.
What you shouldn't be doing is making it an allegory for fucking Trumpian politics. I'm an Aussie. We don't give a fuck about American politics. We barely give 2 shits about our own politics. Just have a chat to the National Cabinet about how our closest military partner is the US and our biggest trading partner is China. I'm sure there's no conflict of interest there.
There is no conflict.
So the last thing I want in my escapism is an allegory for current day problems. So with all of that bubbling away inside me, I sat down to watch Andor. And despite my best efforts, I was fully expecting to see another Disney cash grab. However, that is not what I got. And I'm happy to say I watched all 3 episodes back to back.
What?
Congratulations, Andor, you are now 1 step ahead of the Rings of Power. You have officially met the bare minimum standard. You kept me entertained to the point where I didn't want to switch off or check my phone. Don't get me wrong, this show is not going to undo all the damage that Disney Star Wars has done to its brand up until this point. However, on its own merits, it's not bad. I can absolutely understand why they've released 3 episodes back to back though, because it is slow going. After 3 episodes, it's clear that this show is not going to rely on cameos and Star Wars flash and pizzazz to get the point across. I agree with that to a point, however, this is still supposed to be a Star Wars show, and if it weren't for a couple of names and the fact that it opens with Star Wars, it would be easy to confuse this show as just some generic science fiction. The difference, however, between this and something like The Halo Show is that apparently, somewhere at Lucasfilm there are people who know how to write and direct and act. If I was being a cynical jellyfish, I would say certain individuals at Lucasfilm were too busy getting their fingerprints all over established characters and then letting Cassian Andor slip through to the Keeper, therefore allowing everyone working on the project to put in their best work and not have it altered for whatever reason. And it seems when the creative types are left alone to do their actual job, they can produce something that's not fucking garbage.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
Don't get me wrong, the bar is so fucking low at this point for Disney Star Wars, all this show needed to do was step over it, and I'd argue that they've done that. But perhaps you'd like to hear my patented recap with a generous sprinkling of salt. Fine, you've twisted my gelatinous arm. So evidently that implies a spoiler alert. The show opens on a dark and stormy night, with Cassian Andor making his way down to the New Amsterdam, because nothing says Star Wars like a bunch of holographic whores. Didn't Disney say that they were giving away the whole slave girl thing, because it was problematic? Anyway, Cassian's looking for his sister, who is a whore, but evidently she's not working in this particular whorehouse anymore and he has to move on. Unfortunately, he's got off on the wrong foot with a couple of Imperials, or low-level Imperials at least, the show goes into that later, and naturally they get into a scuffle. I think this is meant to be the first time Cassian's killed someone, and I don't mind it as a bit of character development. It certainly demonstrates how far he's come between here and the start of Rogue One.
My gloves.
Anyway, after realising what he's done, he gets the hell out of there. We then get introduced to the endearing trash can, R2 Junkbot, who finds Cassian asleep. Cassian's having some awkwardly on-the-nose nightmares about what it's like to be an illegal alien in the world of Star Wars. One of my big criticisms so far is how on-the-nose this allegory is. You can certainly see where they're leaning with it, right down to the Empire strip mining a planet and forcing the natives to move on. Also, this mining operation looks very 21st century. Surely in Star Wars there would be something a bit more advanced than that.
So you're part of the mining guild then?
No, not actually. Our operation is small enough not to be noticed.
Cassian then runs around town telling everyone to lie for him so that he doesn't get caught for murder. We quickly get introduced to the first 3 episodes' primary villain, whose name I forget, but I'm going to call him Buttrod. And Buttrod's upset that everyone at his work isn't taking their job seriously. A couple of his colleagues have been murdered and he wants to find out the truth. He's at odds with his director, who wants to avoid the eyes of the Empire. However, Buttrod's not standing for it. Damn it, standards are important. Back to Cassian, and we get introduced to his finger-licking piece of chicken girlfriend. Or not girlfriend. Some awkward sexual tension exists between the pair, though. It turns out her actual boyfriend...
There are some who call me... Tim?
...is not a big fan of Cassian. Cassian convinces his finger-licking piece of chicken not girlfriend to set up a meet with some guy so he can flog off some Imperial stolen property and buy the farm before the Imperials turn up to arrest him. However, Buttrod is firmly on his trail and has tracked him to the planet where he is staying. Concurrently, during the on-the-nose flashbacks to Andor's youth, a Republic ship has crashed on a planet and the tribe's going out to investigate. Tim then grows jealous of his girlfriend's and Cassian's relationship to the point where he discovers that the Empire is hunting Andor. Cassian then goes home to get yelled at by his mum, who wants to know what he's done this time, and he confides in Aunt Petunia that he messed up. He then goes out to meet his finger-licking piece of chicken not girlfriend at the bar. There's more sexual tension between the pair as she explains that she set up a meet with the dude who's going to buy that stolen piece of Imperial equipment so he can get out of there. Unfortunately, the elusive Tim is watching from the shadows and then decides that he's going to report this bastard to the police. Hey Tim, I completely understand, mate. When you got a finger-licking piece of chicken like that, you hold on to her. On that note, Tim does just that as he stuffs her like a Thanksgiving turkey. Good on you, mates. Again, the heavily implied sex scene that goes downrange here is very uncharacteristic of traditional Star Wars. Concurrently, in the on-the-nose flashbacks, the tribe has found the Republic ship only to have their fearless leader get killed by superior technology. Dashing debonair rebel then turns up on the planet looking for Cassian. But he is not alone. The lower-level Imperials, with Buttrod revved up by Bulldog, have come to the planet to find Cassian as well. Their presence on the planet makes everybody uneasy, who then fire up the terrorist warning signal that the Imperials have arrived. Dashing debonair rebel then meets with Cassian and they have a little bit of an interface about what it means to be a rebel. Concurrently, in the on-the-nose flashbacks, Cassian's found his way inside the Republic ship and has started smashing up the screens. Young Aunt Petunia finds him and decides that she can't leave him here to be discovered by the Republic because he'll be killed. In a moral moment that'll probably come back to haunt her later on, she stuns him and takes him under her wing. Back to the present, and dashing debonair Rebel and Cassian have gotten into a shootout with the low-level Imperials. Naturally, Cassian's finger-licking piece of chicken not girlfriend hears about this and runs to warn him about what's happening, only to get waylaid by the low-level Imperials. 2 points from this actually. It was nice to see both sides taking cover during a firefight, like their lives depended on it. And it was also nice to see the low-level Imperials being treated with a little bit of respect. They were using tactics and had no difficulty stopping someone from running away who they clearly had secured. It seems like in this show that the Imperials are going to be more than just pop-up targets. Speaking of pop-up targets, Tim turns up to defend his finger-licking piece of chicken girlfriend only to get shot. But even this probably has potential for character development for her, so I'm going to let it stand. Dashing debonair Rebel and Cassian think their way out of an ambush and escape the Imperials' clutches. Also, Bulldog drops the first ever swear word in Star Wars 2.
Shit.
The first 3 episodes end with Cassian on board the dashing debonair Rebel ship escaping the planet, the low-level Imperials in disarray wondering what's actually going to happen to them now when the Imperials find out, and finger-licking piece of chicken not Cassian's girlfriend upset that her boyfriend's been killed. That may seem like I've glossed over a little bit, guys, but that's honestly all that happens in the first 3 episodes, over the space of about 140 minutes. And from an action standpoint, nothing really happens until the 3rd episode. So as I said, it's going to be a bit of a slug for some people. I can't imagine Star Wars quote-unquote normies will take to this particularly well. There's not enough cameos and there's certainly not enough explosions. In fact, in terms of Star Wars iconography, the only thing I could really see that even approached an Easter egg was this Y-wing in the background. And the Star Wars DNA has been warped to the point where they'll allow sex scenes and swear words, so it's hardly even Star Wars. Don't get me wrong, as a slow burn sci-fi thriller, it's not too bad. I very much enjoyed it. It just didn't feel very Star Warsy. In fact, many of those slow, ambient establishing shots reminded me of Blade Runner. So therefore, my normal metric about how I measure Star Wars doesn't really apply here. At least not yet, until we've seen the entire series. Because from the trailers, there's clone troopers and stormtroopers and Mon Mothma, so eventually it'll feel more Star Warsy, I'm sure. But after the first 3 episodes, I can't really call it a fine addition just yet. As I said, I'm enjoying it more than the Rings of Power. Mind you, that's not fucking difficult.
Give me the meat and give it to me raw.
And my expectations were through the floor, so take from that what you will, I guess. Put it this way, after 5 episodes of House of the Dragon, I am so keen to understand what's about to happen. There is tensions and a world that's been established that I actually care about. After 3 episodes of Andor, I feel they've established a lived-in world only to leave that planet, with one character that I know really well from another film and a new character that I know nothing about. I guess I'm keen to see where the story goes and whether the show's going to become more Star Warsy as it progresses, so I'm certainly not watching out of morbid curiosity to see how much they're going to stuff it up like I was with Halo. But nor am I watching because I can't wait for the next episode like I am with House of the Dragon. What a fascinating position for me to be in.
Well, well, well. How the turntables...
If you told me at the end of Season 8 I'd be more excited for a prequel to Game of Thrones than I was for the next Star Wars, I would have told you to go fuck yourself. But here I float on the cusp of actually recommending House of the Dragon to people, and diving deep to justify why I think Andor is even a Star Wars show. So I'll hold off on recommending Andor until I've seen the full season, but please let me know in the comments if you want me to do my patented salty recaps like I did with the Halo series, because at least according to the first 3 episodes, it doesn't seem that it's going to be particularly intensive in that regard. But remember, I'm just a brainless lump who'll let you know in due course if the Andor series is a fine addition.
Are you threatening me, Master Jedi?
Hooroo.